Alright, so first up here we've got Mardu Superfriends. This was an interesting deck. This was an interesting deck for me because when we did SBMTG Super Friends, which was the third deck that I did for the channel, I believe I said at the end of it that I think the deck would be better if you took out green. Even though you were going to lose Oath of Nissa, taking out green meant you had one fewer color and didn't need the mana fixing as much. And it looks like I was right, because Mardu Super Friends is basically our Super Friends deck without the green. So first up, we have our Super Friends. Sorin, Liliana, Gideon, Chandra, and Ob Nixilis. I think these are probably the best of Planeswalkers in these colors. And Ahiri is one in these colors that we don't see here. He may be running it and we just didn't see it, I'm not sure. And I happen to know that there are two Gideons, aren't there? For supporting cards, we have Oath of Liliana, Transgress the Mind, Filigree Familiar, which was a little odd. I'm not really sure what this does in this deck. We've got Grasp of Darkness, and then we've got Emrakul the Promised End, which was a surprise card. I did expect this to come out. We have at least one of each basic land, probably to leverage Falling Wilds. We have Concealed Courtyard, Shambling Vent, and Smoldering Marsh. I wouldn't be surprised if this deck is also running Inspiring Vantage, which is red-white. It seems like that would be a good thing to run as well. We also have a Blighted Fen, which is another surprise card. Definitely one that can come in handy. It's basically an instant speed removal when you've got a lot of lands. Or even when you don't. You can cast this as soon as you've got 6 lands in play. This plus the 5 to cast it. So it's definitely a good card to run. And yeah, this deck's a lot of fun. We haven't seen Deploy the Gatewatch, but with this many Planeswalkers and being in white, I wouldn't be surprised if there wasn't at least 2 Deploy the Gatewatches, but we didn't see them. Next up we have Deep Blue. This is pretty much the same as the other Deep Blue deck that I featured in Enemy Tech number 3. And that one there, we actually got to see the entire deck list. Some of the major changes that this deck does differently than the other one is that this one is actually running Glimmer of Genius. So even though I use this as being the icon for the other Deep Blue deck, Glimmer of Genius is actually in this deck. Anticipating Pieces of the Puzzle are the same, Scour to the Winds, Negate are the same, Engulf the Shore, Part the Water Veil. If you're mono blue, run Part the Wild Veil available. Just do it. You just do it. You want to fetch and fetch and fetch until you have all 4 of them, and then you can just win the game by chain casting them. Thing in the Ice, Metallurgy Summoning, the Torrential Gearhulk, those are nothing new. The other change that we saw with this, and I think this might actually be a sideboard card, is Sphinx of the Final Word. Sphinx of the Final Word was pretty much what won him the second game against us because I couldn't remove it. There was no way I can remove it. There was one way that I had to remove it, and that was Blessed Alliance. Even if I had Blighted Cataract, which we just talked about in the other deck, even if I had Blighted Fen, I could have gotten rid of Sphinx of the Final Word. But I didn't, so I couldn't. This next one I'm doing kind of as a split tech because they were done both in the same video. I didn't really see a whole lot of these decks just because the games ended so quickly. First up we've got Naya Humans, and Naya Humans is something that I've been kind of calling for a while. I actually thought since Eldritch Moon, Boros Humans would be a thing, but there were a couple green humans in Eldritch Moon, specifically Heron's Grace Champion, that made me think Naya was going to be a thing. So we only saw a few lands, 2 mountains, 2 plains, Game Trail, Ether Hub, Inspiring Vantage, and Fortified Village. We saw Smokeless Copter, we saw Declaration in Stone, we saw Gideon Ally of Zendikar. I hate Gideon, I can't wait till he rotates out. Tireless Tracker, Thalia's Lieutenant, Voltaic Brawler, and PNLR. PNLR was a bit of a surprise, because I don't really think of her for a humans deck, but she is a human, so she works. Also, the ability to sacrifice a token to prevent something from blocking can really swing the game if you're an aggro deck. Now, Voltaic Brawler was a nice addition to this deck. 2 solid Kaladesh cards, 2 strong Kaladesh humans in this deck. Now, while I was play testing the Death and Taxes deck, I did actually run against a Boros Humans deck running Handler Garrison. Definitely a card that you want to use in a Naya Humans deck, even if you don't use the Handler elements to meld them. Handler Garrison will get you red human tokens. Will get you human tokens every turn that you attack with it. And when you've got a Thalios Attendant in play, basically you're basically getting +2/+2 to Thalios Attendant. Or you cast Thalios Attendant after you create the tokens. That's a little bit less good, because you can't cast Thalios Attendant as instant. However, something you can cast as Flash is Heron's Grace Champion. When Heron's Grace Champion enters the battlefield, other humans you control get +1/+1 and gain lifelink. So if you're attacking with Handler Garrison and you cast this before they deal damage, suddenly they're all 2/2, and you increase the amount of damage by at least 3 with just those 3 creatures plus whatever else you have on the board. Naya Humans is definitely a force to be reckoned with. It has a lot of good stuff, and you can only get better because humans are in every plane. And the other deck that we played in that video was what I call Brainy Blue. It's basically Deep Blue with Brain in a Jar, and that changes things a little bit. One thing that we did see that was a little bit different was Blighted Cataract, which is something that I'm surprised we haven't seen in the Deep Blue decks. Blighted Cataract, basically, you don't if you're monocolored, you can throw in 4 copies of a non-blue of a non-island. It's not going to hurt you that much. Once you have 3 blue out, you're pretty much good for your base blue, and then you can just. This will let you draw 2 cards when you have plenty of land. By the time you have 7 land and you have extra lands, sure, sacrifice it to draw cards. So this is definitely something worth running. Brain in a Jar. This changes the deck a little bit. You want to try and get a curve with it. You want to be able to cast something for free for 2, and something for free for 3, and for 4, etc. And that's one of the reasons why we've probably seen Nagging Thoughts. Nagging Thoughts is basically like a smaller piece of the puzzle and not as restrictive. It being for 2 lets you do it with Brain in a Jar, and Brain in a Jar lets you do this at instant speed, I'm pretty sure, because the cast is part of the resolution of this. Because it's part of the resolution of this, you have basically any sorcery has to be cast at instant speed because it's during the resolution, as opposed to something like Abbot of Carol Keep, which lets you cast something until the end of turn. It's not part of the resolution, you're casting it later, so that does still keep the timing. This is part of the resolution that lets you cast it. So it has to be casted. There's no other way that this could work. So casting Nagging Thoughts or Rise from the Tides at the end of your opponent's turn, totally legit. And you get to cast them for free, which, never hurts. When you've got enough charge counters, you can also use them to scry, which is basically card advantage. Void Shatter, can't say much about that. That's pretty straightforward for a blue deck. Metallurgic Summoning, again. Actually, Metallurgic Summoning and Gulf Ashore, again, mono blue staples. Grip of the Royal. It's a cantrip that slows down an attacking creature. That slows down aggressive decks. It's probably in there as part of the ramp for Brain in a Jar. But yeah, this is a very cool variant on the mono blue decks that we've been seeing. So that's it for enemy tech. I'm sorry that this one seemed to be like a rush enemy tech, but it's Sunday. And I want to make sure I get my videos up on Sunday, and I've kind of been procrastinating getting these recorded and done. Plus, I have my super secret project that I mentioned at the end of the last video that I want to work on a little bit. It's going to take some time. So look forward to that, and until next week, keep on brewing.